Is January the 8th, our first call for 2018. And this is going to be a really exciting year. And today we can talk about what we've done so far this year and what we're planning to do for the rest of the year. I was telling you about a 2-4-8 workshop that we had on Saturday. And we worked first with the twos. And I just had the twos look at people. And I had everybody focusing on the eyes. What's the difference between the eyes of two versus everybody else in the room? So I was really working on people's awareness of the quality of the eye and how that shows up so differently, one natural energy to the next. And what that created was this beautiful sense of connection, because the twos just connected with everybody. And then we did the twos let people push on them with engagement from there. And so they were teaching them how intense two can be, how present, how powerful two can be in connection. And it was really lovely. And then we did 4. We only had 1-4, so I didn't do one-on-one 4, but instead we got real close in a tight circle and everybody's knees were touching. And then I walked everybody through a little 4 meditation kind of thing. And this richness and this intimacy settled over our small community with about 11 of us. And Mary Beth got she turned on her conscious observer while she was doing her 4 process. So afterwards, she was actually able to describe her 4 process to everybody. Oh. And I got a deeper understanding of what 4 in community is about, as opposed to 4 one-on-one, right? 4 one-on-one creates this deep, rich, intimate relationship. But 4 in community is about holding this intimacy and connection at a body level that is completely unpersonal. It's not personal. It's intimate, but not personal. It's not one-to-one in that setting. And their role is to bring the community into alignment. So they'll point out, where are we out of alignment? Where is this not working? But they do it in such a connected way that the community can say, oh yeah, let's just adjust a little bit. And let's just a little bit like this. And she kept bringing up, she's been bringing up for the last month or so, well, how does this relate to the Enneagram? How does this relate to the Enneagram? And we keep talking about, well, we believe that there are 9 physiologically different kinds of people. And any personality model out there at some level has to evolve from the fact that there's 9 physiologically different kinds of people. The Enneagram is the most directly aligned, but how a person decides on their Enneatype is not how we determine a person's natural energy. And so the methods are sometimes at odds with each other. And so our positions will identify anybody's energy, but if they have a different Enneatype, that's up to them to reconcile. And she wants to get us involved in the Enneagram community here in the United States, as she's been involved in it. And that's okay. Like I said, we're willing to work with anybody, anywhere, anytime. If somebody says, come work with us, we'll work with you. So anyway, it was interesting that she was using that piece to try to create some alignment between our community and the Enneagram community. And then we did 8 in the afternoon, and our 8s were relatively young. So they were 24, 25 years old. And my daughter Jeanette had been here for Christmas for 5 days as well. And I had just had an experience of, intense family 8. And what I learned from the experience of listening to these 2 young 8s talk to each other and reflecting on my experience with my daughter, who's the same age, is that when 8s care so deeply about the world being in integrity, about people being in integrity, about respect for our humanness and our individuality and our power and respect for our physical space, and that this lines up so directly with the integrity of the earth. So they know this in their bodies, and so it's a visceral experience for them when they are not, when they perceive somebody else as not in alignment with the integrity of the earth. But what happens is when they don't understand that there are actually 9 different kinds of people, that they begin to judge the behavior of the other 8. And in almost all cases, at some level, the behavior of the other 8 is out of alignment with the integrity of the earth. So they get very upset with human beings. And almost everybody ultimately upsets natural energy 8s. I don't know if you've had that experience in your life. I certainly have had that experience, that ultimately, eventually, I will piss off most of the 8s in my life in some way. However, the good news is they are not afraid to tell you, and they're not afraid necessarily of conflict. So they will sit you down and they will tell you what's wrong and what's not in alignment with the integrity of the earth. They don't necessarily put it in those terms, which makes it very, very hard to hear sometimes, because it can be very personal, very specific to you and your behavior. But what they're looking for is an acknowledgement that, yes, maybe I did have another way I could have been in that situation. So they're trying to make you aware of how you might have been done something differently that was more in integrity. So they're always, and the good news is, if an 8 is telling you what you could have done better, they care about you. They really care about you because they're willing to be in that conflict kind of a place. And this gets so misinterpreted. In fact, we think they're upset with us. They are upset. They're upset with, the world at some level because of this, cross and mix.
Yeah.
So that was kind of new for me to see. It's like, oh, wow, that's that power of 8, when expressed, the rest of us perceive as disappointment, is actually a commitment to our integrity, to the integrity of the person they actually care about. And if you look at it from that perspective, it's a lot easier to hear all the things that you just did wrong.
Yeah.
So I thought it was pretty interesting to listen to, and this was very consistent. And then I think as 8s grow older, they mature and they are less, they learn to manage this. It doesn't make them happier, but they learn to stop telling people in a way that young 8s will tell you directly. So that was kind of a little my learning from this weekend workshop. Yeah.
It's always nice. It comes something new into the
Always
work.
coming something new. Yeah.
Yeah. We did a workshop on Saturday too, and we were 20 people. I worked with all of them. We worked with all of them, and Birgit and I worked together, and we were able to. There was 6-7 new people, so we were working with them and typed them. A huge experience. I was working with a male one, and as soon as I was touching his hands, he looked in my eyes, and the softness and almost the tears in his eyes, and he didn't want to go away. And people were blown away. It was completely quiet in the room because he was a huge man. He was taller than me, more built up than me. And he was showing this vulnerable way of being. And it was just amazing. Just amazing. Then we had a very young, not a very young, I mean very, very small tiny girl one. Very strong. We had a 4 and a 9. And a couple of 2s and 2 6, which we worked with. But so when we have done that, we decided to, because we did the morning first and then we do the afternoon, and we decided to do something more, and we decided to create what is the intention for 2018. And then we did an exercise which was really, really, really powerful. So we were pushing them into their strength. So I started with a 4, and he was a male for around 25 years old, never been in this kind of workshop before. And I asked him, do you want to do this? And he said, yes, I want to try this. I really want to try. Okay, so you're the first. You do it the first. Yes, he said, it's okay. Okay, so you can go over in the corner and stay in the corner, and I will come walking over to you, and I will push you on your hips. Yeah, on your hips. And you're not going to use your arms, and you try to get out of the corner. He was a physical person, so in the beginning he wanted to use his arms, and he was laughing a little bit because it was very difficult. And said, stop using your arms and only use your center of energy and movement to get out here. And then he stopped and he went inside, and he pushed me out of the corner from his center. And I stopped him in the middle of the floor, and I asked him, what do you want to do in 2018? And then he started to think, and he lost it completely again. And we did it over and over again until he was looking deeply in my eyes. He was so strong. And then he said, I want to be more with people. It was so powerful. The message, the understanding of everything he did, he was so in alignment with his strength. And that moment, he was so strong, I couldn't move him.
Beautiful.
So it was and we did that with all the people in different ways. And for those who are in the community, like Jarle, he's a 2, he's in the community. And I was really pushing on his solar plexus. And then I had him to work with me as a 3. And he didn't change his face. He didn't change his posture because he was so activated in 2. So he forgot to do everything else. And we did back and forth and back and forth. And I asked him, so what do you need to do in 2018? And after a long time, he realized I actually need to learn to do the postures in my body. It's not enough to play around with it. It's not enough to do 2. I actually have to do 3 when I do 3, 6 when I do 6, 1 when I do 1. And he couldn't do it when he was really forced, in a positive way. So he learned that. So people learned by their own strength what they know and what they don't know and what they need to train on or what they want in their life. So it was a physical manifestation of the intention for the change in your life in 2018.
Nice. Well, it feels 2018 is really feeling alive and exciting. There's a lot on our calendar already and many things that we're being asked to do. And the first quarter, January, February, March, for us is very focused on digging deeper into each of the natural energies. This month, we're going to do 1, 5, and 7. And then next month, 3, 6, and 9. And the following month, we're going to do 2, 4, and 8 again. Each week we're going to dig deeper into an energy, get as many people of that energy as we can from here in Bozeman to come and work with us. And tonight we're going to do natural energy 1, which is, we did 5 last week, and we'll do 7 next week. And so it's head month.
That's very nice. We are very excited about, I think we should just put it out there about what we are talking about, Susan and Martin, and also Birgit, which we're going to talk about tomorrow more. It's the huge intention for 2018. And actually, we are going to meet and invite people to have a worldwide meeting about this work.
Yes. March. We're going to do this in March. Yes. We're going to have the first Worldwide Symposium of the natural energies.
Yeah, that's even better. Symposium. Yeah.
Symposium. So it's the 16th, 17th, and 18th that we're going to do this here in Bozeman.
Yeah. So we will come over on the 9th. It looks like we're coming over on the 9th, and we get over the jet lag and we do some work together before the meeting. But we need to get out with it and tell people that they are invited to come on that weekend. People from other countries maybe need to come in a little bit before, but we will figure it out. So
absolutely.
So the whole idea about this, Susan, as we talked about, is that we meet with all the 9 different energies in a meeting where we ask each other, why are we doing this? Why do we need to do it? And what is the benefit of it for people and for the world?
And how are we going to talk about it to the world? How are we going to how do we develop the messages that land for all 9 energies? And what are we going to call it?
Yeah, and what are
we going to call it? You know, I mean, we call it 9 energies. You call it Ennead. You know, Alan and Barbara call it new equations, and then there's all these other versions of stuff out there. So what is it? What is it we are actually doing? And getting that clear to me is so critical, because we're at a really pivotal time. And 2019 is going to be, I think, a really big go out in the world year. And 2018 is what's all the materials and names and structure and stuff that we have to have in place to actually go out in the world in this big way. And what development is still needed within what we know. I mean, for me, Martin and I were talking about after the last Burning Man, we came back with an understanding of the physiology is so powerfully landed in our bodies. And by osmosis and by the work that you're doing, you seem to have the same stuff landing in your body. It's a beautiful thing, you know, how much synchronicity there is even across the ocean. And so that part is really clear right now. The physiology, what we're teaching about, the connections and the body part of this is all of a sudden just gotten really solid. And so how do we express that? But also, you know, what do we call this? Because Martin's believing that 9 energies is actually a little misleading. And because it's not about 9 energies, it's about 9 physiologies.
Yeah, and we see the same. We call it Ennead, and absolutely nobody understands what we're talking about before we explain it.
Right. Well, even after you explain it, nobody understands what we're talking about until they have the physical experience.
Yeah, or you go to Google and you find something about Egypt, which is very nice, but in the same way, that's actually not what we are doing.
No, not at all. Not at all. In fact, Egypt is it could potentially be a misleading energy.
It's not a symbolic
experience.
Experience. It's a physical experience of the soul in the body.
Yes. And it is. It's like turning on your cosmic being through your physiology. And I've been working on becoming a better speaker also. That's one of my goals this year, is to become a really powerful speaker and learn to use storytelling as a way of talking about what we're doing here and the impact that it has and the benefit that it has. And that's the other thing that I want to see us craft, is a consistent story, that we're set of stories. So if you're talking about relationship, you have a story that we tell about relationship, and we have a story that we tell about, or you have your own version of the story. And I think that is at this point the most powerful way to actually tell people about it, because it gives them a more visceral, relatable experience that they can say, oh yeah, I'd like to have that experience. So I think that's going to be a big part of what we're creating.
Another thing that I think is really, really important is that we have said now for a long time, which we experience new people actually learning this, and some trying to learn it, that they have to do it in their own way. I really respect it to some way, but what I discovered on Saturday is that, because I was working with Solveig, she's a 4 in the community in the morning training, so I was very, very prepared to be with this energy when I work with this young guy. And what I see is that there is a specific way you handle each of the 9 energies physical when you meet them for the first time, which is not different from everybody. It's a specific way they want to be handled. Even if you're a 6, I understand your 6 drive and your way of speed. You have a higher speed because you have more experience. I have another speed and another person has another speed. But you can't do it in a very different way. There is a certain way you hold the hands. There is a certain pace you are with force. There is something you do with them. If you don't do it, they don't like you.
Mm-hmm.
Or the way you do it.
Right. That's the activation of the energy in your own body, so you have access to where they live.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is very specific, and actually the words I say are very specific.
Yeah.
Very specific.
Yeah.
And there are words that work better. You know, over the years, I've said so many different kinds of words, but when I've narrowed it down to a very specific set of language that I use when I'm working with different people.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to say is that the time when I understand that we always discover new things, but there is so much we know right now that we can present for the world. We don't need to have this approach of, oh, we are in this discovery phase of the work. I actually don't think it's true anymore.
I agree with you with respect to the identification process. I actually think that we have actually figured out how to identify somebody. And I think this time we actually know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Right. And we have developed a working set of language and process that actually are all extraordinarily important elements to be there in the identification process. I mean, each person is still an art, but there is a process, right?
Of course. Yeah.
And the process has to be authentic every time you do it. So it's not learning a script. It's understanding the process, understanding the language, and then having it be authentic in the relationship that you create each time. And that's that. But I think it is real. That's what I was saying about having come back from Burning Man and have the physiology really understood. I, within seconds can get a person certainly into their triad, typically, or into connector versus versus transformer, whether it's 1 through 4 or 5 through 9. So very quickly you can get a sense of people when you understand the physiologies. And then in the connection, when the activation happens, there's something more that's there. But the activation piece has to be done through your body with that person.
Oh, yeah.
So
you do it through your body, but at the same time, you're not using any force. So you let them do it when you activate it in your body. So you're not using force. They actually do it for you.
Yes. Well, what it feels like to me is like it's a loop, right? You present a possibility, they respond to the possibility, and then you can strengthen what they've given you, and then it's just this looping thing. And each, as you said before, each one is really unique. You meet them very differently, energetically, with the body differently, the words. And when I'm trying to teach people how to activate 6 in another person, I said, you have to make this interesting. That is so boring the way you're pushing, and there's an intensity and there's an interest in the energy that you have to generate. And there's something like that for each of them.
Yeah. And some humor. With 6s, I feel there has to be aliveness. So it's humor. It's nice. They're smiling and laughing a little bit about what's happening with the energy.
Yeah. Often. Yes. Yeah. And because it's exciting when 6s get 6 for the first time, it's very, very exciting.
It's very exciting.
It really is. Yeah, well, all this is exciting, and this year is exciting. So we're gonna have the first symposium of something. We don't have a name for it yet. The first.
So what we are going to do now is that we are going to send out an email, like same email from us and from you guys, and we are going to send it out to people we know and all over the world, and invite people to this meeting, and we see how many thousand people we get into Bozeman.
Okay.
So
I'm excited.
About 4,000 or 5,000 people, isn't it?
Could be. You never know. You never know. But yeah, there's certainly that many people that know their natural energy, so it could happen.
So so we will invite them, and they have to buy their tickets. They have to find a place. Of course, we will be helpful with a place to live. And if I understand it right, it's going to be a kind of, we learn from each other and we share with each other in the meeting, and it's, of course, it's for free.
Yeah, the meeting, there's no expense associated with the meeting. Yeah, exactly.
And I guess it's going to be a lot of learning from each other.
Yes. Yes. And if it's more than 30 people, then we'll have to find a different place than the Nine Energy Center. Otherwise, it will all happen at the Nine Energy Center.